welcome back. We're in studio with Miss Bernice Lee, Principal of Penwood International School, and her team. Also online with us is Miss Christina Dunchi. So today we will continue our discussion on diversity in leadership with our focus on Singapore. Over the years, Singapore has developed to become a nation known as a multicultural nation. So we are here to discuss the impact of inclusive leadership in students' diversity in Singapore's international schools. The reason for choosing Singapore is its colonial past. Now, this colonial history has influenced their legal systems, educational structures, and administrative frameworks like Jamaica. But before we will continue with the discussion, here is a trivia question for our viewership. The first person to text the correct answer to our WhatsApp number 876-776-2345 will be the winner of a gift basket from Grace Company Limited. How many international schools are currently in Singapore? Again, how many international schools are currently in Singapore? Remember, do not call but text your answer to 876-776-2345. Thank you. Let me introduce the other members of our panel, Mr. Javon Alstead and Christina Dunchi, grade coordinators. And remember, Ms. Dunchi is online with us. And Mr. O'Shane Wynn, head of department at Penwood International School. And I am your host, Miss Eugenie Douglas. As it relates to diversity in educational leadership and management in Singapore's international schools, give me one word that you would use to describe them.
Well, multiculturalism is one. Diversity. Inclusive. And what about cultural awareness?
Thanks. It seems those are all words that you are familiar with. That will lead me to the next question. Do you believe that Singapore's student body is excelling because of the diversity and inclusivity of their educational leadership?
Yes, it does.
Absolutely.
Sure it does.
Let me throw this question to Principal Lee. Why do you think so?
Well, sure. Singapore's diverse and inclusive educational leadership greatly help the country's student body by ensuring that all viewpoints are considered when making decisions. The diverse leadership contributes to the developing a more inclusive environment that meets the requirements of all pupils. The adoption of an inclusive approach is crucial for the academic and social development of students from diverse backgrounds, as it is cultivates a sense of belonging.
Mr. You have made some bold statements. What are some of the quantitative data that you have to confirm that statement?
Well, we do have data. You see, when we look at the students' academic performance and achievement, Singapore's international schools routinely beat the global average of within the international bachelorette program. In 2022, Singaporean students received an average IB score of 37.5, while the global average stood at 31.9. Additionally, it was reported that 90% of the graduates got accepted within their university of first choice, and their levels of academic achievement prepared them for college.
Not to toot our horns, but out of the 79 participating countries and economies, Singapore came in first in mathematics, science, and reading according to the results of the 2022 program for international students assessment. The success of Singapore International System, which places a strong emphasis on inclusivity and diversity, is demonstrated by those high rankings.
I would like to add that according to the 2022 results of students of the program for international student assessment, Singapore is one of the top performing education systems in creative thinking among 64 participating systems.
I must applaud you. Those are some great achievements. But can all these achievements be attributed to diversity in leadership?
Yes, approximately 60% of our teachers in Singapore International Schools are expatriates, bringing diverse perspective and teaching styles. Leadership teams in these schools often include members from multicultural backgrounds, with some schools reporting that up to half or 50% of the leadership staff are actually international hires.
About 55% of leadership positions in international schools in Singapore are held by individuals from diverse ethnic backgrounds, including 30% from Asia, 20% from Europe, and 5% from other regions.
Those are some impressive statistics, Ms. Dunchi. Does the government of Singapore invest in the professional development of teachers, Ms. Lee?
The government does invest in schools, and there has been a steady increase. But international schools in Singapore invest significantly in professional development for the inclusive education. On an average, schools allocate 5 to 10% of their annual budget to staff training and diversity and inclusion.
I am so sorry that we have to stop here for today. But I know that there is much more that can be highlighted, and I will most definitely reach out to you all again for part 2. Persons need to be informed about the great strides that Singapore International Schools have been making over the years. But before we end the program, I am going to give you all 30 seconds each for your final thoughts. So who will go first?
I will go first. Now, international schools in Singapore have seen a steady increase in enrollment, with several students from diverse cultural backgrounds over the past 5 years. Currently, over 55,000 students are currently enrolled in international schools in Singapore, mainly from Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, China, India, and South Korea, who are between the ages of 13 to 23 years old.
Ms. Dunchi?
The country's education system, particularly its international schools, is renowned for its high standards and innovative practices. The government's commitment to fostering an inclusive educational environment is evident through various policies and initiatives.
This is food for thought. But bear in mind that international schools in Singapore have established diversity and inclusion committees that organize cultural events at these schools, awareness programs, and workshops. These schools host annual cultural festivals that attract participation from a majority of the student body, fostering a sense of community and inclusivity in our schools.
So, Ms. Lee, what are your final thoughts?
Well, finally, we have to realize that all Singapore has experienced could not be done in isolation. Parents play a vital role. Research has shown that the majority of parents in international school in Singapore actively participated in school events, and diversity initiate a supportive and collaborative approach to education.
On this final note, we will end. I want to thank my panelists, Ms. Venice Lee, Principal of Penwood International School, and our team members, Mr. Javon Olsted, Ms. Christina Dunji, and Mr. Shane Wind, for their insightful and informative discussion. Also, Sonique Smith from our outside broadcast and our sponsor, Grace Company Limited. It is evident that the diverse leadership structure of Singapore's educational system plays a significant role in its success. Thank you for sharing these details with us, and to our viewership, we appreciate the time you spent with us today. We hope that this program was beneficial to you all. We look forward to having you again for part 2. Before we go, our winner of the trivia question is Miss Marcia Campbell from Pits to Town. Miss Campbell, if you are still listening, my producer will reach out to you to arrange collection of your gift basket. Again, thank you all, and have a good night.